Welcome back to the Keller Report. Once again, our breaking news tonight, a just-released NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows that President Obama's popularity has taken a hit. Just 42% of Americans now approve of the president's job performance, while 51% disapprove. His support is down 5 percentage points since the disastrous Obamacare rollout. But the president and his administration are not backing down. Earlier today, Health Secretary Kathleen Sebelius spent hours putting up a bureaucratic stonewall. But at least one testy exchange with Committee Vice Chair Marsha Blackburn, Sebelius did apologize, sort of. Take a listen. You decide.
We own the site. The site has had serious problems.
Who is in charge, Madam Secretary?
The person now in charge as an integrator is QSSI, one of our...
Who was in charge as it was being built?
Was in charge up till...
At that team, who is the individual?
Michelle Snyder is the...
Michelle Snyder is the one responsible for this debacle.
Well, excuse me, Congresswoman. Michelle Snyder is not responsible for the debacle. Hold me accountable for the debacle.
Okay.
I'm responsible.
All right, that was very tough stuff from Marsha Blackburn, who kind of smoked out Secretary Sebelius. All right, joining us now, Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Tim Murphy. He was part of today's hearing, and he heads the subcommittee on investigations and oversight. Welcome back, Mr. Murphy. We appreciate it. Sir, let me just ask you this. All right, you had this big hearing with Sebelius. You probably heard the president up in Boston or got wind of it up in Boston. They are, to coin a phrase, stonewalling. In other words, they don't want to change anything. And the reason I'm asking you this, sir, is there's some talk about a delay of the individual mandate or parts of it. And I would posit the view that they do not want to delay anything. What's your take?
Well, I hear rumblings of that, particularly from some members who want to push bills like that. But I certainly don't hear the Secretary or the President really saying that. And I'm not sure they do. I mean, they are saying that this is a glitch. There's some problems, bumps in the road. This is a serious problem of what's happening. People are scared to death because they're getting letters saying your insurance being discontinued. They're finding more expensive options. Yes, there are some less expensive options available, some people in some states, but it's pretty frightening to people. And I think if they remain insensitive to those concerns that Americans have, because this is not turning out to be affordable, and later on they may not be sure if it's really care, that's going to be a lot of political pressure back on the White House and on the Secretary to perhaps delay it.
Well, that's it. Okay, you know more about that than I do, but I guess I want to ask you what you think is going to happen next, because what they say today, the so-called computer glitches are going to be fixed in a month. All right, I have no idea.
By November 31st.
Right, okay. You know, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. The cancellations, people are going to go back on some kind of insurance, even though the costs may be soaring and so forth. In other words, what happens here? Does anything change at all, or does it just roll through? Because I guess I'm in the roll through camp, that nothing's really going to change.
I think what's happening is you're seeing this first phase. The bridge is out on the issues with the website. But will they eventually repair that? Probably. Will it be by the end of November? I'm not so sure, but let's say they eventually get that. What's also happening now, however, is people are seeing this huge price shock, which we knew was coming and which the administration was in denial. We're also finding out people can't keep the plan that they wanted, and this is where the administration was in denial a long time, too. What's going to happen here is the prices that people are going to find they have to pay. They're going to make some decisions on a very, very short fuse of when they have to make those. And then I think come January, what we'll hear more from people is, hey, I can't see my doctor. I can't go to the same hospital. What's going on here? So for all the things which we continue to hear, that people would have access to care if they had a pre-existing condition, good, we want that. That women would have some more access to care, great, we want that. But it's what's going to happen overall, I think, is going to continue to show some serious problems.
I don't think that young, healthy people want to pay much higher premiums to finance elderly, sick people. In fact, I think the government should directly subsidize the elderly and the sick. I don't think it should be part of everybody's premiums at all, or deductibles. I just looked around at mandates, right? If you load these things up with mandates, it's got to cost more money. It blows my mind that both the president and Ms. Sebelius are still telling us how premiums are coming down. All right, just a couple things. You probably know this stuff. All right, there's mental health services, there's mammograms mammogram services, there's abortion services, there's fertility services, there's Viagra, there's lactate services, and there's speech therapy in this thing. Now, suppose I don't want that stuff, and I just want to pay, $100 a month. I can't. Why are they in denial over that? They refuse to answer the fact that if you load the truck up with all these mandates, it's got to cost more.
Sure. Well, and they had what they said. That's what they mean when they say if you liked your health care plan, you can keep it as long as it's exactly what they wanted. And it's simply not going to happen. We were also promised when this bill was going through committee and the floor that if the other mandate was that everybody has to buy it, prices would go down. And we realized that that's simply not true because young people, as you were saying, are finding themselves in a situation where their prices are going to go up. Women who are pre-retirement are going to see their costs go up, and people are going to start to say, wait a minute, you're asking me to pay for all these things that I neither want nor need. And that's where all along we had thought if you could have offered people a basic plan where they had coverage for catastrophic care and the very thing you're saying, people with a chronic illness, there could have been some other support for them, which fell apart months ago in the Obamacare. We could have had other ways of dealing with without the $1 trillion cost.
I could have had, you're exactly right, sir, a transparent subsidy for those who are seriously ill and some kind of risk pool. Just the last one. Something that I think deserves some greater attention is what Obamacare is doing and will do to Medicare. They are robbing Medicare of, what, $750 billion in order to finance Obamacare. Let's not forget that. Medicare is a very popular program. And inside Medicare, sir, they are ruining the Medicare Advantage program, which is also very efficient and very popular, and, by the way, is free market choice. Now, you all going to just let that? I mean, that's what they're doing. Is that in the legislation?
Well, that's something I've been fighting all along because I know Medicare Advantage does a lot of great prevention services, gets seniors active out of their home. We know, and research which tells us when people live lives alone in solitude, their chronic illness risk goes high, their early mortality goes high, depression, all those problems. And yet they're going to defund this thing that really helps seniors. What we have to do is make sure that that's accessible. But what they're doing is increasing the cost. And here is the man behind the curtain. They said, oh, we're going to save this money through reducing costs. Well, they're going to reduce costs by making seniors pay more, by paying doctors less and hospitals pay less. I mean, you could certainly come up with lower costs in a restaurant if you just told the waitress, I have figured out a way to save money, I'm not going to pay you. And that's not going to work in health care.
And I'll give you one last one. We got to get out of here, but I'll give you one last one. Well, I'm going to bet, sir, I'm going to bet that most of the signups in the next year or two are going to be Medicaid, okay? And that is pure state-run health care. There's your single payer right there. That's the model, and that's where I think Team Obama wants to go. I'll give you the last word.
I think what we're already seeing, and it's puzzling, the administration won't tell us. I think what's already happening is the vast majority of those signing up are Medicaid.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep.
And I also think that young, healthy people are going to say, you know what, I may take this $95 fine. I don't have a few $1,000s now or more thousands of dollars to pay for this health care later on, and financially, this won't work.
All right, Pennsylvania Congressman Tim Murphy, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time very much. Now, folks, Obamacare is not the only big political battle brewing. There's a budget fight that's getting started again. And this time, it looks like it may be all about taxes. What a shocker that is. Republicans say no new taxes. But more Democrats like Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi are starting to demand tax hikes. I'm going to talk to one of the top senators who was in on the negotiations that began today. It's the Kudlow Report. Please stay with us.
The boys are back in an all-new season. The Car Chasers, Tuesdays on CNBC Prime.
Nice car.
Sure is.
Make a deal with me, kid. You can have the car and everything that goes along with it.
Give me a smile, kid. Give me a smile.
So what do you say?
Thanks, but I think I got this.
The all-new CLA. Set your soul free.
Give me an 8.
No, 8.
9?
How about an easy 2?
Easy 2.
Bag's heavy, Davis. I had to lighten the load. Got too many clubs, way too many balls.
I'll take the 2.
Really? It's way too much club. Oh, by the way, that's your last ball. So...
A partner who truly understands your business brings all the options. McGladrey, experience the power of being understood.
You are a business pro. Maestro of project management. Baron of the build-out. You need a permit to be this awesome. And you rent from National, because only National lets you choose any car in the aisle and go. You can even take a full size or above and still pay the mid-size price.
Perfect.
Meow, business pro. Meow. Go National. Go like a pro.
The DirecTV customers you're about to meet have allowed us to switch their service to Dish Network.
When we switched, we expected to have the same channels, basically the same package, same price, but what we found out was we were missing some of our favorites. The channels that we found out weren't in our package were actually available on Dish Network, but they were on the upgraded package, so we'd have to end up paying more for channels that we got when we had DirecTV. It's just not a fair comparison, right? So we might be paying less, but you're certainly getting less.
Now playing on DirecTV Cinema.
I'm officially a college student! When it's time to party, we will party hard. I've never stayed up this late in my life!
Disney Pixar's Monsters University, rated G. Movies start at channel 125.
Welcome back to the Keller Report. The new House-Senate Budget Conference held its first meetings today. They're challenged with crafting a budget deal by December 13th. But if today's meeting was any indication, it may be easier said than done. Just as bipartisan negotiations get underway, the tax hike fight appears to be just beginning. Democrats digging in. Take a listen to this.
While we scour programs to find responsible savings, Republicans are also going to have to work with us to scour the bloated tax code and close some wasteful tax loopholes and special interest subsidies.
Revenue needs to be on the table. If you're not going to have revenue, who's going to pay? Granny on Medicare? That's not something that we can accept, no.
All right, joining us now to parse through this, conference member and Idaho Republican Senator Mike Crapo. As always, Senator, thank you for helping us. So you were there today. It's interesting. The headline in the Wall Street Journal says the White House doesn't want new taxes, but the House leadership and the Senate leadership do. Who's right and who's wrong? How do you play this?
Well, it's hard to tell right now, but very clearly each side pointed out the important aspects of a budget deal to them today, and it was very clear that there were some very big chasms between us that we will have to bridge. That being said, I was actually a little bit heartened by the fact that we all tended to talk about the fact that we need to find the consensus that we can build, find those areas where we do have overlap in our positions, and build forward what we can. We probably won't get the grand bargain out of this conference, and you know from our previous discussions that that's what I'm angling for. But I think there is an opportunity for us to protect the savings we currently have into place and maybe even move a little bit into reform of entitlement programs as we try to find a way to soften the harsh impact of the sequestration while protecting its ultimate savings levels.
Well, I interviewed Paul Ryan, Budget Chairman Paul Ryan, 2 nights ago at that Kemp Foundation dinner. He said, look, he said, if we can't get anything better than sequestration, then we'll take sequestration. And he said, absolutely, taxes are off the table. Now, if Reid, Harry Reid, and Nancy Pelosi, and Patty Murray are going to sit there and want to raise taxes, then nothing's going to happen. Take this sequestration and run. That's what I do.
Well, that's the bottom line. If nothing can be done except to hold the status quo and protect the Budget Control Act savings that we put into place 2 years ago, that will be a victory because there's a clear effort underway right now to break the budget. We've got to stop the budget from being broken. The message I delivered today at the conference, though, was let's accept the fact that we've got to protect our current savings And if we can build at least a foundation or a pathway forward to deal with reforming our tax code, not just raising taxes to justify more spending.
See, that's the
and
thing.
Moving in.
That's
yes.
exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm glad. Perfect. Okay. The Democrats are looking at this. They just want to jack up taxes. They want to go for so-called loopholes, but they don't want to have lower marginal rates on the other side. So that's anti-growth, tax hikes, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, Senator, they want to take that money and use it for their pet projects. Now, at the moment, it sounds to me, judging from this article in the paper today, Wall Street Journal, and Obama said this, it sounds to me like Reid and Patty Murray are to the left of Obama on this.
Well, it's starting to sound like that, and you're exactly right about our tax code. We have a tax code that is probably the most unfair, the most complex, the most expensive to comply with, and frankly, the most anti-competitive to American business interests that we could have created. And what we need to do is move into the code and, yes, reform it, clean it out, and use that revenue to reduce rates and make America more competitive again.
I mean,
that's the focus.
Maybe we can grow at 4% and 5% instead of just 1.5% to 2%. But Senator, let me ask you this, okay? I agree with your ultimate grand design. I know where you're coming from, and I know what your efforts have been in the last couple of years. But for the moment, that ain't going to happen. I think the sequester and the budget caps, which have huge savings already in place with much more to come, are terrific. To me, smaller government means better growth in the economy. And I think it's the best achievement, really the singular achievement of the Republican Party on fiscal policy.
Well, I agree with you completely. We're looking at over $2 trillion of reduction in federal spending over the next decade as a result of the Budget Control Act, which includes the sequester. And we must protect that. Now, the sequester admittedly is a little bit rigid in its across-the-board impact, and there are ways we could soften and improve the impact without losing those savings. But we've got to remember that Congress doesn't do very well at honoring its budgets. And again, one of the messages I delivered today is we've got to protect that Budget Control Act, but we've got to put budget enforcement mechanisms in place to assure that we stay at it for the next 10 years rather than having this annual fight over whether to break that budget.
All right, speaking of annual fights, last question for you, Senator, maybe the hardest. Can you and your committee make the December 13th deadline, or are we going to go through all bloody hell again?
I believe we will. I'm cautiously optimistic that we can do so, and if we do, it will be something along the lines that you and I have discussed here today, with what I hope will be building a pathway or a framework for us to move into bigger and stronger reforms in the future.
All right. Well, if you can do it, sir, Nobel Economics Prize. I will donate personally a Nobel Economics Prize to you if you can do it. All right. Idaho Senator Mike Crapo, thanks very much. All right, now the budget's just one issue where the Republican Party needs to put together a coherent winning message, and they got to do it fast. That was my challenge to Senators Mike Lee of Utah, Dan Coates of Indiana, and rising star Tim Scott of South Carolina. That was all at the Jack Kemp Foundation dinner, and they all respond to my challenge next up on Kudlow.
7 monster-sized homes, 7 spooky locations. Where can you get your foot in the door for a cool million? Super broker Dolly Lenz takes the mystery out of the madness. $1 Million Homes, trick or treat, all day tomorrow on CNBC.
Win business back.
Win America back.
What makes Ireland great? The rugged sounds of ancient Isle, Fizz and home of computer file, our legion of genius writers. And then, new geniuses who've never even lifted pen. There's the gab with a gift, the eyes with glint, the talk and the wit. Great to do business with. Hub, Hive, Source, Thrive. What makes Ireland great for business. See why at idaireland.com.
There are movements so perfect, you'd hardly think they were made by humans. perfect mechanical watch movement in the world.
Retirement isn't just a day that you help your clients prepare for, or a number you help them hit. It's a constantly changing equation you help them solve. Learn more about how we can help your clients grow and protect their retirement income at AllianzUSA.com.
Huh. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Yep. Everybody knows that.
Well, did you know the ancient pyramids were actually a mistake?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you, well, you know.
I had the great honor this week to host a dinner in honor of my friend, the late, great Jack Kemp, a mentor of mine. Gave me the chance to sit down with some of the leaders of the Republican Party, and we played my interview last night with Paul Ryan. I also spoke with GOP Senators Mike Lee of Utah, Tim Scott of South Carolina, and Dan Coats of Indiana. We talked budgets and taxes and Obamacare and how these issues could impact the future of the GOP. Here's a sample of what they told me.
We have been handed an absolute gift, and that is Obamacare. This thing is imploding before our very eyes. We need to unite together on a common message. We did have a difference of opinion on tactics, not on goal. If we unite together and let this thing unfold and show a viable alternative, we can win that 2016 election. And that's when things start to turn around. That's when this country explodes with economic growth.
You have to get the what and the why right. So the what we're doing pretty well. Lower taxes, smaller, less intrusive government, fighting against Obamacare. The what's we're getting right. What we have to do is connect to the whys. Why are these policies important for the average person? Part of the responsibilities that we have is we can't say our doors are open. Come on in. We have to be willing to go into places where we would consider an uncommon location for Republicans to show up. Sometimes we're only relevant every 2 or 4 years, election cycles. I want to be relevant 365 days a year.
That's where I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, is what we ought to be for as Republicans and what we as conservatives want. The kinds of policies that will unite us around a conservative
Give me a specific.
One specific example, and one that Paul Ryan and I have talked about extensively, is pro-family tax reform. The kind of tax reform that would acknowledge the contribution that parents make. Working parents are, in a sense, taxed twice, especially as it relates to our senior entitlement programs. They're taxed once when they pay their taxes, and they're taxed again as they expend significant resources raising their children.
The bottom line here is that we've got to win in the Senate in 2014. Right. We're just outnumbered. Right. Thank goodness we have Paul and his group in the House of Representatives to hold the line for us, promote the ideas to us until we, but it's pure math. Until we can get 51 or more Republican senators, everything the House sends over to us is dead on arrival. And then use that base to build toward the 2016 election.
All right, all very interesting stuff from 3 distinguished senators. Now, let's get back to our top story tonight, the continuing fallout from Obamacare. The president doubling down on the health care law, even as a breaking NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, breaking news, shows his favorable rating sinking to an all-time low. We're going to talk more about that with our Obamacare experts just ahead. But first, tonight's edition of Obamacare Comic Relief.
It's being reported that the president has known for 3 years that people would lose their coverage. The press is now saying the president lied. But today the White House said that's not true. He did not lie. And they released this tape from 3 years ago to prove it. Here's what he said 3 years ago.
If you like your doctor, you cannot keep your doctor. If you like your private health insurance plan, you cannot keep your plan.
But there was some good news today from Embattled Health and Human Services Secretary Catherine Sebelius. Obamacare will cover all her injuries after the White House throws her under the bus. So she is fully covered.
Staying warm and dry has never been our priority. Our priority is, was, and always will be serving you, the American people. So we improved Priority Mail Flat Rate to give you a more reliable way to ship. Now with tracking up to 11 scans, specified delivery dates, and free insurance up to $50, all for the same low rate.
We are the United States Postal Service.
We are the United States Postal Service. And our priority is you. Go to USPS.com and try it today.
We did it.
Yeah.